Did you know that the greatest power in the universe could be hidden in two simple words? I am is not just an affirmation, it is the master key that Neville Goddard reveals to us to unlock our true inner strength. This video immerses you in the ancient wisdom found in the scriptures, from the mysterious name of Jehovah revealed in Exodus to the profound symbolism behind the generations of Abel, Seth, and Enos in Genesis. Discover how these stories are not just tales of the past but maps that guide us towards the power of invoking the divine within ourselves. Prepare to explore how I am can transform your reality and why, by understanding this principle, the pursuit of external fortune becomes irrelevant. What is the relevance of recognizing that God resides within us through the I am? Because by being aware of our true essence and the power that resides in our imagination, we take the reins of what we direct our attention to. Without this knowledge, we will be mere playthings of circumstances, perpetually victims of misfortune. To those who listen to me in this eternal now, I urge you to believe in my words. Jesus, just like Jehovah mentioned in the scriptures, are manifestations of our wonderful human imagination. There is no other God beyond this, and that God is pure essence of love. Good morning, you will come to know this truth through your own experience. Until that happens, trust in my words and in what I share with you. Yes, imagination shapes reality, and you can never claim to have known Jesus until you recognize the power of your own imagination. For it is, indeed, the one that can bring you redemption. There is a single power in the universe, and you can call it Jesus. May God be with you. But if you consider Jesus to be a being who died 2 millennia ago, then, in reality, you will never connect with the true Christ. Christ is, certainly, our Redeemer, but salvation is offered to us in the form of our imagination, in our ability to turn challenges into solutions through our deepest thoughts. God personifies himself because you are a human being, not because he came into the world only once in the figure of Christ. God manifests in the world daily, with every birth, and he incarnates in you and communicates with you through me, who am also him. You see, he literally dialogues with himself through us, and you can become the person you long to be, without conforming to the image that the world has projected onto you or to the one you allowed to be projected. If you are responsible for that image that is now reflected on the outside, it is because it was first conceived within you. With this knowledge, it only remains for you to now cultivate a new internal image so that your exterior transforms into a reflection that pleases you, and your conviction that what you imagine for yourself will materialize must be as firm as that of the widow mentioned in the book of Luke in the Bible. The judge, overwhelmed by her persistence, finally ruled in her favor just to get rid of her. The widow had already visualized the final result in her mind and did not accept any answer other than the one she had seen in her imagination, and she insisted until the universe, represented in the parable by the judge, acceded to her persistent demands. There is no more powerful force than the one found in chapter 11 of the book of John in the Bible, where we read, "Thank you, Father, because you have heard me. I knew that you always hear me." This passage is basically about someone who had died, but no one is truly dead when one knows how to pray properly, and perhaps you cannot touch the disembodied person with your mortal sense again, but if you know how to give thanks and live in grace, you can move your being from darkness to light and there reunite with those beloved ones who have left us in this material world, in the world of Caesar. And when you learn to pray truly, you discover the secret of a full and happy life. Praying is not prostrating oneself on the cold floor of some church, looking up to the sky with tearful eyes, but feeling filled with your desire as if it were already an accomplished reality in your life. So, it all starts with the simple question, what is it that I really desire? It is something you long to happen, not something you wish to avoid. Reflect on it, it is something forged by your faith and not dragged by fear. I don't want to become impoverished is born of fear. I want to become rich arises from faith. Do you grasp the essence? Now you must transform that desire into a feeling of the present. It's as if you stopped desiring that thing and started being grateful for it because you already possess it. After all, you cannot long for something you have already obtained. The only desire, then, becomes for that to remain in your life. Delving into this, while I am here in Los Angeles, I can desire to be somewhere else. The recognition that God resides within us through the power of I am is a transformative realization that empowers us to take control of our lives. By acknowledging our true essence and the creative force of our imagination, we become the architects of our own reality, no longer at the mercy of external circumstances. This understanding is the key to unlocking our full potential and transcending the limitations imposed by fear and doubt. The stories and parables found in the scriptures, such as the mysterious name of Jehovah and the generations of Abel, Seth, and Enos, are not mere historical accounts but profound spiritual allegories that point to the divine power within each of us. They serve as guideposts on our journey of self-discovery, reminding us that the path to true fulfillment lies in embracing our innate divinity and harnessing the power of our imagination. The biblical narrative, from Exodus to Genesis, shows us how the invocation of the divine name has been an act of recognition and connection with the supreme power. By understanding that I Am is the name of God revealed to Moses, and how this knowledge was perpetuated through generations from Seth to Enos, we comprehend that the practice of invoking God's name is, in essence, an act of remembering and affirming our own divinity. This understanding leads us to a fundamental truth: we are creators of our experience, shapers of our reality through imagination. The distinction between Jesus and Jehovah as manifestations of our imagination does not seek to desacralize the divine, but quite the opposite. It seeks to elevate our understanding of the divine as something not separate from us, but as an expression of our deepest being. By recognizing that there is no other God beyond this creative force of pure love that resides within us, we free ourselves from the perception of being at the mercy of external forces and begin to live from a place of power and authority over our lives. Imagination, then, reveals itself not only as a resource for artistic creation or the solution of everyday problems but as the vehicle through which we can experience salvation. This salvation is not understood in traditional terms of redemption from sins, but as the liberation from self-imposed limitations and the realization of our unlimited potential. By personifying God, not because he came into the world in the figure of Christ only once, but because he manifests continuously in every human being, we recognize that every birth, every act of creation, is an incarnation of the divine. This constant dialogue of God with himself through us invites us to reevaluate our self-image and reject the limiting projections that the world or we ourselves have placed upon our identity. By taking responsibility for the image we project to the outside, we understand that we have the power to change it, cultivating a new vision of ourselves that aligns with our most authentic and elevated desires. The practice of prayer, understood as a state of gratitude and affirmation that our desires are already a consummated reality, becomes a powerful tool for manifestation. This form of prayer, far from being an act of supplication or desperation, is an exercise of co-creation with the universe, where what we truly desire manifests not out of fear, but out of faith in our ability to create. The conscious assumption that we are already where we want to be, or that we already are who we want to be, frees us from the limitations imposed by time and space. By assuming in our imagination that we have already reached our goal, we activate the divine power of I Am, which operates through us to make that vision a reality. Lack of time or money may hinder me from going to another place, but in my imagination, I can assume that I am already there and consider something as real. That is the power of assumption that I talk about so much and that some still do not fully understand. Therefore, through my simple act of assuming that reality, God temporarily leaves this body of mine. Thus, if I assume that I am in New York, for example, I can think that I am thousands of kilometers away from those who live with me in Los Angeles, or I can imagine that they are in the city center or even in the mountains. This is a small exercise for me, imagination guiding myself in New York. I can perform certain movements here, walk through a room in the house, or even see myself in the bathroom mirror. And so I assume that it is not I who moves, but God himself moving through me. As mentioned in Galatians 2 verse 20, it is no longer I who live, but Christ lives in me. And I must remember the words of Blake when he stated that man is pure imagination and that God is man, for he exists in us and we in him, and that our immortal body is our imagination, with imagination being God himself. In the beginning, we find our immortality and our innate power,